Okay, so I think the time has come to paint up one of my weird creature sketches I've got in this sketchbook here. So, one of the things I've been doing in this sketchbook is just painting up some weird creature faces, just freehand, no idea going into it, just kind of making shapes and then turning it into something. But the aim of this book was to be mainly weird creatures, stuff that you see, but basically nightmare fuel for young children. So yeah, it's something I like to draw. So I think I'm going to choose one of these and then take a photo of it, upload it into Photoshop, and then paint it up with some nice dramatic lighting and some nice complementary colours, and then we're going to really make it a lot more realistic and get a nice vibe going. So this one is very strange. I don't think it's going to be this one. I was thinking maybe this guy here, maybe some brown tones in there. Jellyfish guy, triple skull guy, depressed looking slug alien. Maybe not. These are just faces. Maybe this one could be an idea. Ball bag, scrotum monster. This guy. That just looks like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. Not this guy. I don't even like that. Don't like that. Flyman. This was when I was in hospital for my broken ankle. Maybe this guy. I think this guy will look good. Maybe with like some kind of natural forest woodland colours, because I've just painted a forest lately, so I could use the same colour palette but bring this character to life. He kind of looks like he's made of wood, doesn't he? Like he's some sort of like ent or fantasy creature. Hippo man. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be this guy. Let's add some colour and some dynamic lighting and bring him to life, shall we? Boom! Okay, so next step is I'm going to take a photo of this and then upload it to Photoshop. So I'll see you guys in Photoshop. Boom! Okay, so I've now uploaded the photo from my sketchbook that I took earlier. And we're just about ready to start painting over it. I've also got some colour swatches here. So this is the kind of colours I want to paint. This creature, so kind of earthy tones, nothing too saturated. Now I've just got to remember how to set this line drawing up. So this bit of video will be highly edited because I can't remember how to do it. There's a million ways to do the same thing in Photoshop. So let's just clean this up. First things first. And then I think what I want to do is use levels. Just make our whites as white as possible and our darks as dark as possible. That's going to make doing a selection a lot easier. There you go. Just set it to multiply. And then hopefully if you go underneath. Yeah, great. Because the only thing of using multiply is sometimes it changes the colour slightly. See how the colour's changing a little bit, but I think I've kind of got away with it here. Maybe I can adjust it even more. Like that, and then like that. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Okay, let's start laying in some values, shall we? So, as per usual, the way I like to start always is by just what I call messying up the canvas. It's an old oil painter's technique where you're just adding some paint to the canvas. Nothing too crazy. Keep the values, the lights and the darks, more or less in the same place, quite close to each other. I'll tell you what, I'm going to use the airbrush first. Also, I want it going from dark to light in the background, so I'm going to have my light source here and then the dark there. Oh bugger, I've started it wrong. Control Z. Painting on the wrong layer, classic. Right, I can I can edit out this bit. Right, so let's start painting. I'll tell you what, let's just get rid of that bit on the multiply layer. So again, I want some dark to light in the background. So we have a light source coming from that way. That's kind of like a cinematic vibe, and it always works really well with creatures. Anything that you want to be slightly creepy. It's good just to, you don't want the background to be completely blown out. All right. And then what I'll do in a second is use my darkest value to block in this creature. I'm not going to bother selecting him, just going to roughly do it. If you want that painterly look, the rougher you do it, the better it's going to be. If you want that look, which is the kind of look I want, because that's really what I like. I like that kind of oil painterly. I'm always trying to reverse engineer my work, my digital work, so they make it look more traditional. Why not just paint traditionally, you say? Well, I've been through this before. It's not practical, but I do paint traditionally in my sketchbook using watercolor paints just for fun. But professional work and just for kind of like doing something like this is going to be a nightmare traditionally. It's going to take like 10 times the amount of time and effort. That sounds really lazy, but there you go. That's the way it is. This guy's confusing me. Right, so that's his weird arm sticking out. Remember, this is like a 5-minute sketch I did in my sketchbook. I think I did this one while maybe in a departure lounge at an airport somewhere. So they're always a bit freaky, depending on what mood I'm in, I guess. Right, let's bring in some more kind of warmer tones down here. Again, just being as rough as anything. And then you refine as you go. Just using that smudge brush just to, again, give us that painterly look. Let's bring back the airbrush. So the airbrush is just doing good. It's great for doing just like overall values. Just getting those lights and darks where I want them. So don't forget, save your lightest light and your darkest dark for your focal point. So I don't want anything too dark. You see, I've got some value range left there. Let's put in a bit of blue. Again, as well, I've been over this before. Just add some nice colour variation to your work. It's going to make it so much better. Just keep shifting the hue, because again, if it depends what look you want. If you want a digital look, then fine, you don't need to do all this stuff. But if you want it to look kind of nice and traditional looking and realistic, then you've got to make sure you've got color variation. Because if you look at the real world, nothing is just one solid hue, is it? It's like a mixture of so many different hues. So in a minute, I'm going to start zooming in a little bit on this one. Let's get some nice texture in there. Start to up the saturation on some parts as well. Nice. Yeah, see, it's just nice having a real subtle, cooler colour in there. Just makes for a more interesting painting. Okay. Let's just use this brush. That's great for getting some overall tooth and texture to the composition, and then let's bring in our lightest colour just for oopsie daisy. Nice. I just really love this textured look. It's what always excited me about, fantasy painting and that certain style of like loose but defined painting. It's hard to describe. It's basically you've got to make sure your focal points can be really detailed. But then, so let's say that we're going to make this a focal point because it's the face. It will be a focal point. We can do this really detailed, but then you can leave really loose bits here, like the bits that aren't really of interest, but it just makes for a much more interesting image. If it's kind of represents how the eye works. Like, anything you're focused on, your brain's automatically going to make anything else in your view kind of blurry. It's the same kind of thing. All right, let's start to really work in some values, some light and shadow on our guy here, whatever it is. Again, if you see me looking to the right, I've just got a little navigator screen. It's just basically what you're looking at, but a smaller version. It's just a good way of, because what artists do, like traditional artists, they step back from their work because it just helps to get like a different perspective on what you're doing, because it's easy to kind of lose track of the overall look of an image, and then you spend too much time zoomed in and then you realise, oh God, this sucks. And by that time it's too late. So yeah, keep zooming out like this. Let's start to bring in I'll lower the opacity so it's nice and subtle, but we're going to start to bring in some more saturated colour, and then we're going to start working on this guy's skin. If he has skin, might be tree bark, don't know. This is a technique I learned from Hardy Fowler. Just by lowering the opacity a lot, you can really just build up those nice soft edges that you get with what would you, not anatomical, you know what I mean, with creatures and humans. Skin and stuff, you know what I mean. Skin tends to have nice soft edges and subtle gradients. And this is a good, as you can see, it's a good quick way of getting that. And maybe these horns here can be a bit of a reddish colour. Might be cool. Yes. Just careful not to go too crazy. Have a look at my under sketch every now and then, because it really doesn't make sense, let's be honest. But what I'll do, I'll do a rough underpainting, which is what I'm doing now, and then I'll merge the line work, and then I can look at kind of using some tools like liquify and the distort tool to kind of maybe change the anatomy a little bit to make a little bit more sense of it. Or maybe that will ruin it. I don't know. We shall see. That already looks pretty fun. Freaky. Desired effect is working. Again, just slowly build this stuff up. Let's work back in. See, I can't stand the kind of work where you're like doing everything so exactly like this. I can't do it. My art has to be like literally like a kid throwing around paint. I just don't have the patience for anything too like exact. Even though I do a lot of that stuff in my weapon and vehicle design, but you know, I use a lot of 3D for that. So it kind of skips this process that I don't like. All right, this can be the darkest values here. Maybe just block that off there. So this is what's great about painting, because you're using light and dark to create form. You know, before this, it was just a line drawing. Just give it some light and shadow, it's coming to life. And then you just kind of imagine that. So the light is coming from this way. So we're gonna light this guy with that in mind. So, you know, we're gonna have some light hit here. I'm guessing they're like fingers there. Don't really know. Or ribs. Fingers or ribs. I have lots of light this side because this is the other side of the shoulder, so let's really change the hue, make it a bit cooler, and then let's really bring up the light for the outside. Same with this one as well. See how effective that is? Just when you start to, that's why you got to keep your values tight, because then you can save certain values for certain parts of the painting. If you used all your values up too soon, then it's just going to look blown out or I can't really describe it. It's just going to look shit, basically. I haven't done a video in a while, as you can probably tell. It's going to look shit. Is that an eye? Yeah, that is an eye. Okay, so let's maybe make an indication that there's an eye there. And then bring in some... No, that looks terrible. Eyes can really make or break a painting, and I just broke it just then. You got to be very subtle with eyes. Can't just be like, there's an eye. So this already looks better. But there you go. Just subtle. An indication of an eye, not what your brain thinks an eye looks at. That's why the book Drawing from the Right Hand Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards is so good, because it teaches you to... Because what the human brain tends to do, it tends to interpret what it thinks it's seeing instead of what is actually being seen. When it comes to painting, it's kind of hard to explain, but that's what it boils down to. All right, let's... Don't want the values to be too high there, because we're almost on the edge of the canvas there, so don't want to distract the eye away from the face too much. Bring back those colours. All right, more ribs there. Maybe we'll do different tone, different colour. Ribs, fingers, no idea. That colour. Oh, I did him a little belly button, it seems. Okay. Kind of liking that. I might merge our sketch now. Yes, let's do that. It might be nice to have a bit of the sketch showing. So go merge down. Bum, bum, bum. Cool. Right, so now I want to use some different layers like soft light just to go over the top of it and just to bring up some of these values without affecting the painting underneath. This bit's kind of confusing. I suppose it's just surreal horror, isn't it? So it can be confusing. Right, and then let's use a multiply layer as well. Let's just darken some sections up. Yeah, disgusting looking creature. Right, let's do a little bit of cinematic lighting quickly. So let's make use of our highest value and we'll get some edge light on this guy. Again, not too far from the edge of the canvas. It needs to be all mainly around here. You don't want to do like too much contrast up here. It's all composition stuff. How long have I been? I'll give it another 5 minutes and then just start to detail. Right, so just doing some edge light, just so we can really pop that silhouette. And when I zoom out, you'll see what that's doing. And then let's pop this bit here. Pretty cool, eh? Let's get some cooler bounce light here. Again, just changing the hue, the color as much as possible, just slightly. So you just get that slight color variation in your work. That's going to give it that nice painterly traditional look. And then I always go a little bit over the top with this edge light. It's like, this is another one of those like subtlety is key moments. I think I may have already gone over the top, but I'm going to stick with it. That's fun. Yeah, and then we can just hit little sections with tiny bits of bounce light. Oops. Okay, so that's the bulk of this one done. Now, just need to spend an hour doing zoomed in detail, and then slowly bring it to life. And then I will show the finished version in a minute. Might do that again. Okay, so that took about 25 minutes. I'm happy with this as like a basic underpainting. We've got our color palette, we've got our lighting scheme, our lighting setup, which is what you'd hear me call the values. And all there is to do now is just zoom in and start detailing. So you're just refining, you're just going right in and then refining. You don't need to see that. I've shown it many times. So I'll upload the finished piece at the end of this video. So thanks for watching.